Hello, everyone. Have another message for you today. This time it is from Lady Badb. Badb is one of the Morrigan sisters. She's one of the first beings, goddesses that came to work with me many years ago. And we have a very close working relationship, and I have a lot of respect for her. Despite what many people think of the Morrigan, of her being a dark goddess, she's actually very motherly and protective. And to me, she is a being of advance warnings, of prophecy. And primarily, she likes to come in where there is a choice involved, that there is a chance of changing it, or there is multiple pathways of potential. She likes to give you advance warning so that you can make an educated decision, and move on from there. I have a video in my playlist about Badb and the Morrigan. So if you want to have more information, please go back and watch this. She gave quite a succinct message today. So I'll read it quickly and then I'm going to pull some cards from my new deck, which is the Call of the Morrigan. Oh, can you see it? No. The Call of the Morrigan Oracle there. And that is by, does it say, Stephanie Woodfield and Karen Storminger. And the art is by Naomi Cornick. And that's quite new. So I might need to use the book for some of the things. But I only use this deck for speaking to the Morrigan. So put my goggles on. Today, Badb said, the old ones are here now to bring the change. So many lives, so many chances, and yet here we are at the time of the turning. The ship sails, Purder sails. Arthur comes to claim his prize. On and on we go. The weavers bring magic to aid you in the unfurling of the new embrace of the change. Roll with the tide, flex in the wind, and you will triumph. For now is the time that was foretold. Lightning strikes the tower, when all will be tested, but only some will pass and survive the turning. So I thought it's quite interesting that she talked about lightning striking the tower this afternoon, because this morning when I was meditating, I had a horse that I used to share come to me in meditation. Now, he passed away a few years ago. He was very, very old. He was a big, black, beautiful horse that I used to share, big Frisian cross, beautiful boy. And his name was Thunder. And he came to me in meditation this morning and he showed me a set of rhythm bells that I brought him. I brought him a necklace that he wore when I rode him, and they made a rhythm when he moved. It's a Native American tradition. It helps keep the horse calm. But the rhythm bells I bought him were black and grey beading. And on the bottom, I hung a Thor's hammer because Thor is the god of thunder and the horse's name was Thunder. But it's interesting that he came this morning. So the horse Thunder came this morning showing me the image of Thor's hammer, the god of thunder. And in a way, his hammer to me is like a divine weapon, a spiritual weapon, divine retribution type weapon. I don't really work with Nordic gods, so I don't have much point of reference for Thor's hammer. Hammer? He didn't have a Humvee. I made myself laugh. Thor's hammer. other than it's a sign of strength and a spiritual weapon. But it's interesting that he came today. And that reference point, there's two reference points there of thunder. And then Badb, one of the Morrigan sisters, has come today and said, lightning strikes the tower. Because when I did a card pull the other day, I think I put it up on the channel, the tower came out in a deck where there is a black bird and a white bird, a raven and a dove flying out of a tower that's been struck by lightning. So there's this theme coming up again and again in the last few days about an event, some sort of event that blasts everything asunder and splits into the white and the dark. And Babe says, doesn't she, in her message, that we need to, the time has come that needs to be foretold. We will be tested and we need to flex and roll with the tide. So that speaks of being adaptable and flexible and just going with it and trying to stay open-minded and not to become frozen. I think that's quite clear because all those images to me are being tossed and turned and lots of things happening all at once and it being quite overwhelming, with that image of the ocean, of the tides and the wind, it being quite biblical. But if you move, if you go floppy and flex with it, surviving it. And she talks about it being a test. Another world does test you. But I think, Merlin said earlier, didn't I? You need to decide in your heart. And when you're tested by Otherworld, that's what they're testing. They're testing what you're made of. They're testing what's in your heart. So it's very pertinent that she's referred to it as a test, which Merlin did not. He referred to it as a choice. But Babe only comes in when there is a choice, when there is more than one option, where there is a chance of changing things, or going down multiple pathways. So there is definitely, again, these multiple pathway options. And I think there's two choices because Merlin talked about enlightenment or destruction being a choice. Babe is putting this image of the tower being struck by lightning into my mind, and that particular card having the white bird and the black bird fleeing and bursting forth from this event. So let's pull some cards and see if Babe would like to add anything to her message. As I said, I'm using the Call of the Morrigan Oracle. Can't speak today. Let's see. As I said, I might have to read the book because I haven't learned all these cards yet because this is my newest deck. Right, Babe, Lady Babe, would you like to add to your message from today about the tower being struck by lightning and the tests? What would you like to tell us? She said earlier, I asked her before if she would like to speak, and she said yes. So, oh, Cuchulainn. Now that is interesting because I don't know what it means in this deck, and I will look, but he was a very famous hero. But he had also very famously turned Babe down. She tried to seduce him and he turned her down, and then she tried to kill him, and then he tried to kill her. But actually, in the end, at his judgment day, at Cuchulainn's judgment day, he wanted to die on his feet because he was a warrior. And so he tied himself to a standing stone. And Babe stood with him on his shoulder as a raven and protected him so that he couldn't be cut down or further slain, and let him die a natural death from his injuries, standing how he wanted to. She gave him an honorable death that he wanted. Um, but also, he's famous for making a terrible mistake. Um, he accidentally killed his son. He hadn't seen his son for many years, and when his son came up, um, all sort of bolshy and showing off and baiting Cuchulain's sort of warriors and things, Cuchulain went and there was a bit of an in and out, and but then he killed him, and it wasn't till after he killed him that he realized who he was. So this is a card of a warrior, of battles, of being brave, but it's also a card of making terrible mistakes and regret. But in the end, it it coming right, because his death was fated. It was foretold by the Morrigan. So this is, I'm going to read the book as well, but to me, this is almost us, Gwyn ap Nuith was talking to me the other day about everyone having made terrible mistakes and in their lives or in their lifetimes, even if you haven't in this lifetime. He was saying you will have done something terrible. That's your way of processing what's going on at the moment in the world. You will have at some point in one of your lives have done something terrible. We all have, he was telling me. Um, and Cuchulainn did something terrible. He killed his own son by accident, but because he didn't ask who the person was and he charged in. So this is also about making rash decisions, about thinking things through and asking questions, to me, intuitively, but also reaching your fate. So in a way, is Badb saying, whatever decision you come to at the choice point, when the lightning strikes the tower, is fate. That is your fate. That is what you were destined to choose. But choose wisely. And this is what Gwyn and Merlin said. Take some time to think and ask questions and listen to your heart. I'm going to have a look what the Cuchulainn card means in the deck, because, as I said, this is a new deck to me. There he is. I have to put my glasses back on because the print's a bit small. Right, divinatory meaning. Sometimes we are stubborn and refuse to change our course of action, even when there are other options. This is what I was saying about there being multiple pathways. We refuse to see the truth even when it's placed before us. Now, Merlin was talking about that, wasn't he, earlier in my earlier message? He was saying there will be those who know and make a wise choice. There will be those who need to be persuaded but make the right choice. And there will be those that don't even know what they're turning down. They're so far away from being awake and enlightened or open-hearted that they don't even know what it is they're turning down. We see changing our minds as weakness rather than wisdom. Sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking we have no choice. Our own stubbornness hinders us. When this card appears, it is a warning. That's interesting because Badb has told us previously, if you look back at my previous channeling of the Morrigan, she said, I am the goddess of warning, not of war. And she's given us a card that is a warning. Look at the bigger picture. There may be information you are missing about the situation. This card can also represent regrets. As I said, regrets for actions taken in the past. What can you learn from the mistakes in the past in order to avoid them in the future? How can your regrets shape your actions? What path are you stuck on? Now, this is what I was talking about the other day, in one of my other videos where I was discussing um, being your authentic self and being in a gilded cage. Um, and you might have on paper a fantastic life and think you have to be grateful, but actually you're miserable. And this is a similar thing. It's about upending everything. Maybe that's the towers for us. The lightning strikes the tower, and we all have to just go, yes, I want to carry on like this, or no, I don't. I don't know. Is that the choice? Um, are you stuck on your path? Can you change it? Is there more than one way to accomplish your goals? If you continue without changing course, there will be roadblocks and painful consequences. Now, did her message not talk about rolling with the tide and flexing with the wind? So, this is a card of stubbornness and regrets and being stuck in the past and stuck in your ways and not seeing other options and things. And so it speaks about flexibility, being flexible. So whatever comes in the coming days and weeks, and again, I get this very much the lunar eclipse on the 17th. Whatever comes then for you, because it might be individual. We might all have individual towers. It might not be, a solar storm causing a Carrington event. It might be that we all on that day or around that day have our own individual tower moments, but the choice we make then is pivotal and is the test of our what's in our hearts and how adaptable we can be when thrown a googly, as they would say in cricket. Sorry, I apologize to our American viewers because you won't know what on earth I'm talking about if I start talking about cricket. Um, but that talking about what's in your heart and Bave talking about being tested and Otherworld testing you about what's in your heart. Often when they do that, it's a split second thing. One of my tests was what I would do when I was in a split second situation. What was I made of? This was right at the beginning of my journey. And I was driving a car down a road, and a tiny toddler and a small dog ran out of one of the houses in front of me. Gwyn ap Nuith had told me I was going to be tested that day, but the day had almost come to an end and nothing had happened. And I was like, well, maybe I didn't even notice. And then suddenly this young child and, maybe 2 years old and a spaniel came running out of the house and straight in front of my car. And this was a 60-mile-an-hour road, country road as well. So, there was not very good visibility. And in that moment, there were so many choices. I could have hit them and gone, oh well, you know, that's that's what you get for running out of the house. I'm sure some people, not me, would have done that. I could have swerved round and driven on and just left them in the road and left them, to their fate from another car. But in that moment, my heart showed what I was made of, and I slammed on my brakes so hard that we nearly all went through the windscreen, me and the dogs, and I didn't even stop my engine. I literally yanked the handbrake on, jumped out of the car, and ran for the child to get the child out of the road and get hold of the dog. And once the child was in safely secured behind a gate, went and got the dog and did the same thing. And this is in oncoming traffic on a bend. So I could have been killed as well. So in that split second, Otherworld tested me. I had many options, but my heart said to help without any thought for myself. And that showed them what I was truly made of. Now, I'm not saying you should go and do dangerous things. That was my test. But this is what Badb is saying about doesn't matter what's happened in the past. Like Cuchulainn, you might have done something terrible. Like Gwyn ap Nuith said the other day, we've all done something terrible, either in this lifetime or another one. Everybody has something awful. Even he has. But it doesn't matter. The past doesn't matter. The future doesn't matter. That split second where you have to show what you're made of to Otherworld, to yourself, to the world, that's what matters. And what is in your heart in that split second is the universe you create for yourself. What is also interesting about getting Cuchulainn and that asking you to look within and see if you can, if you're being stubborn or single-minded in obtaining your goals, if your internal world and external world is different, if your dreams are not being met because you're being very tunnel visioned. What is interesting about that is that this Sunday is a big festival in India, one of the most important festivals in India of the year, and it is the festival of Shiva. Shiva is one of the gods of meditation. He's one of the three supreme deities in India, and I believe he's the creator god. They have a creator, a protector, which is Vishnu, and a destroyer. I believe Shiva is the creator god. And he is the divine masculine. Shakti is the divine feminine. So you have Shiva and Shakti. So Shiva is the divine masculine. Cuchulainn is a very masculine representation, the hero, the wounded healer, warrior, the imperfect warrior. But during the festival of Shiva, in preparation for this day of meditation, which will be this Sunday, so in a couple of days' time, it's customary to fast, but not just, stopping eating sugar or caffeine, alcohol, this sort of thing, like purifying your body. There is also a custom of purifying your thoughts. So specifically, astrologically, because it's linked to the moon as well, it's linked to the lunar cycle. This weekend, if you practice meditation or if you are a Hindu, you will be practicing the purification of thoughts. And you're specifically asked to look at your actions and words on the surface, what you express to other people, what you say out loud, and what you're thinking within, and if they match, if you are being disingenuous, if you are lying. And it asks you this time of year to think very carefully about whether your thoughts are pure. And this fits so well with what Badb is saying about being tested to see what you're made of, to see who you really are, because this is exactly what the Festival of Shiva asks us to do as well, which is now. Fantastic. Very interesting synchronicity there. And the underlying card in the Cuchulainn is the eel. Now look at that. That is an eel of darkness, isn't it? Look at that. It's trying to hold on to that sacred sword. It's almost like Arthur's sword, isn't it? It's almost holding on to like an Excalibur-like sword. The darkness trying to drag down the light. I think that's a very powerful image. And the sword is that a sun or a moon? The sky is dark. That's a moon. Oh my goodness. We've got a full moon, sword of truth or honor. I will check. and the darkness trying to drag it back down into the murk is the underlying current. That's interesting. What number is that? 25. I do apologize for having to go to the book, because whilst I'm intuitive, when I've got a new deck, I do like to know what it actually means. Right, this is the card of the eel. Challenge, strife, and obstacles. The sword stands half in the water and half out, like the yin and yang, like the balance we were talking about the other day. Behind it, the sun sets. Oh, okay, it is the sun. This is a liminal space where land, sea, and sky meet. Now, that's interesting because Badb said, roll with the tides and flex with the wind. She's talking about the elements as well, isn't she? And they're all in this card. Time is held still. The challenge you face may be overcome, or it can stop you in your tracks. There's the two paths again. The sunset represents the ending of something. Weren't we just saying the other day about the ending of the Kali Yuga cycle? The end of time. Gwyn ap Nuith was saying that he was bound till the end of time, and now he's not bound anymore, which means the cycle of time, the Kali Yuga, is ending. Move forward and untangle yourself and rise into a new day. And that's what Cuchulainn is. This is the past. This is regrets. This is the end and a new beginning. This tower, this choice point, something is finishing and a new thing is beginning. And I think you can choose to stay in the old or begin in the new. If you turn it the other way, look, you've got, it's like, it's sort of yin and yang, isn't it? As above, so below, the water and the sky. Will you stand still or let the challenge you face overcome you? The choice is yours. Flexing in the challenge. See what you're made of. All these cards are about a choice coming. That's just what we're getting over and over and over again. And look, the card underneath that, which I don't normally go through all the underlying cards, but sometimes there's more than one. It's battle. The battle between the light and the dark. Oh, and I meant to say in her message, Babes' message, sorry, the cat's mother, I do apologize, Lady Babe. She said, let me just read it. We are at the time of the turning. I think this is times. The ship sails, Purda sails. Now, I believe King Arthur's ship is called Purda. I might be wrong, has been known. However, something in my brain is telling me that the ship that King Arthur used to raid Annwn, the underworld, where Gwyn ap Nuith had his court at the Arthurian times. So what's that? 6th century AD, CE, for those of you with your newfangled ways. That's the ship that Arthur, Purda is the ship that King Arthur used to raid the underworld. There is this image of, because regardless of who Arthur really was, it's what he represents to us, this righteous, because he had his faults when he was a person, you know. And we've talked about that before. But there is this sense of this sort of righteous coming again of the good, of the truth, of the light. And Arthur's ship sailing that he used to raid the underworld. Now, I will argue till I'm blue in the face that Gwyn ap Nuith's Annwn underworld, it is not a dark, bad place. It is just the dark to the light. But they believed the other world was over the sea, and you know it was Annwn was on Anglesey, which is where there was the Druidic centre as well before the Romans came. So there was this spiritual hub surrounded by water where Gwyn ap Nuith was based, and so they, it was referred to as the Otherworld. But now this represents what Bave is saying. This represents Arthur, King Arthur, and everything he represents to us. His ship heard a sailing off again. And the last time he used that ship in a notable way that we know about was to raid the underworld. So there's this clash of dark and light in the imagery as well. Very, very interesting. Right, let's see if Lady Bave wants to say anything else. Do you have any advice for us, Bave? Do you have any advice? Well, that popped straight up. Ah, okay. Okay. Her advice, the first card that came out is the Sorceress. That's the Magician card. That's using all the skills that you have in order to create. And that card that also popped out with it is Dagda's Cauldron. This is the cauldron of rebirth and abundance. Now I'm going to, and what the underlying card is a heart, a human heart, creating a new world, born again from the heart. This is the same message. This is the same message. Oh, I've got goosebumps all over me now. This is the same message as Merlin has been giving us. This is the same message that Gawain has been giving us. This is the same message that the Dryads spoke as well. This is something massive is coming. Now, whether we'll realize it's massive at the time, whether it's going to be a global event, or whether it's just something happens in our own lives in the next few days and weeks that is a personal tower that changes everything for us, I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know, to be honest. I think when you, like, Cuchulainn card warns, doesn't it? Warns of overthinking. So, perhaps we don't need to know because it's not a true test, is it? It's not a true test of what we're made of if we know in advance. Although Bave is, she's warning us, she's giving us as much information as she can give us. Right, so this Sorceress card, this is magic, will, manifestation, and tipping the scales. That is another image that has come out in our recent channelings of this balance, of this rebalancing of scales, of the weighing of the heart. We had this the other day with the imagery of Thoth and Mat, the goddess Mat, when we did a reading that I posted on YouTube, and they are the weighing of the heart. And we've got this card, the heart. It's all about seeing what you're made of. Wow. Wow. It's almost like we're all going to have a weighing of our hearts in a sense of, well, I mean, the Egyptian ceremony is they weigh it against a feather, don't they? They weigh it against a feather, and it's one of, what bird is Thoth? It slipped my mind, but it's one of the birds that Thoth is. It's one of his feathers that is weighed. Or is it? Or is it Hathor's feathers? Oh, I can't remember. I said the other day, it's gone from my mind now. But yeah, there's this weighing of the heart. But weighing what you're personally made of. I'm really sorry about the light in here. It's very, very murky and dingy today. And it's been raining all day and the sky is absolutely biblically black. And I've got the light on in here and it's still, so sorry about that. Right. But the card that came out was Dagda. So cauldron of rebirth, nourishment, abundance, and joyfulness. So there you go. Be in your joy. This is what Merlin said this morning as well. He said, be in your joy. Observe, don't absorb. That's what everyone's saying at the moment, isn't it? Don't let what's going on lower your joy at just being alive and being grateful for everything around you and being enthusiastic. Don't let it infiltrate your energy because this weighing of the heart is coming. Now, what's the divinatory meaning of this? Of the cauldron of Dagda? It's very similar to what this card represents to me about being the magician, because the magician card, the sorceress card, is having loads of skills to draw on, loads of learning you've done. You're like really well prepared. You've got all your shit together. And this is the card of embracing the gifts that the universe is offering you and finding your passion in life, your joy, and following it, embracing it, immersing yourself, it says. Now, that's very important, I think, immersing yourself in the joy, whatever that is, because there's so much going on that is the opposite of that at the moment, that it's really important because of this weighing of the heart for your heart to be light. Because if you're not, even if you're really upset by everything going on, you personally, your personal energy must stay light. Don't let it touch you. Acknowledge it if you wish, but do not let it infiltrate. And the next card underlying, because there seems to be two cards underlying today. The next card underlying is the raven. Now, this is the bird that picks the bones clean of the flesh. This is the card of the journey. This is the card of transformation, of stripping away the material. And that cauldron of Dagda spoke of joy and abundance, but not, I don't want to say untrue, like not authentic, authentic joy, authentic abundance. What really makes you happy? Not the material things, because they don't really. You can't take it with you, as they say. And this is the card that strips you clean of those things. Everything material, the flesh is gone, and what is left is your core being. The only thing that we will see when the raven has been is literally what you're made of, the bones. And when your heart is weighed, that's what we'll see. Literally what you're made of. Like the decision I made in that split second to leave my car running in the middle of a road and run into a road in front of oncoming traffic to save a little girl and her dog. Dog's just as important, in my world anyway. That showed Otherworld what I was made of, who my true self was. That's what we're being asked. Who are you? I'm sure we did a channeling a few weeks ago, and they asked that exact question. Who are you? I think we're about to find out.